right, you're good. You're good.
All right.
Start?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. I am Monicah Kariuki from Echo FM, and this morning I am with Lorie Burch, who is running for Congress in Plano, Texas. Welcome to Echo FM.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And thank you for your time too. I know you're busy.
A little bit.
With
It's
campaigns
election.
and
It's election
everything.
time.
Yeah, I know you are so busy. And thank you so much for your time. But anyway, would you just go ahead and introduce yourself
Sure.
to our listeners, our guests,
Yeah.
and our viewers?
Well, I am very, very honored to be here, and I really appreciate you all taking the time.
Mhm.
So, again, my name is Lorie Burch, and I'm running for United States Congress, House of Representatives. So, you know, Congress has the Senate and the House, and every state has 2 senators, and then the House of Representatives is divided up by population. So, the district that I would be representing is the 3rd District of Texas. And while I live in Plano and am a proud Plano Senior High Wildcat graduate,
Yes.
that actually encompasses the majority of Collin County. There are little slivers of Collin County that's not in District 3, but for the most part, that's the overall district. And so this is the primary season right now.
Yes.
This will come up a lot, but early voting is still going through tomorrow,
Okay.
March 2nd, and then March 6th is Election Day.
Awesome. And just to clarify to our listeners, Collin County includes Plano, McKinney,
Allen,
Richardson.
Frisco, parts of Richardson, Anna, Melissa, Prosper, Lucas. There's a lot up there. So
Okay.
know your county.
Right.
And if anybody ever needs help to figure out whether I'm in their district or not, or they're in this district,
Right.
they can just shoot us an email. We have our website, LorieBurchForCongress.com, and
Okay.
we're real responsive to folks who are trying to figure out where to vote and who's on the ballot and all of that information.
Right.
So we're happy to help.
Okay. Awesome. Lorie, can you just walk us through your journey? How did you get here?
Right. I wonder that every day. How did I get here?
Yes. And how did you get, why politics?
Yeah.
Why, you have a good career and now you're going into politics.
Sure. Well, I feel, in a way I've always been in politics because politics is everything. But, so I'm originally from California. And we got transferred to Indonesia when I was in 8th and 9th grades. And so I lived in Jakarta, Indonesia, and went to an international school there with kids from over 50 different countries.
Okay.
And that, to my dying day, I'm sure will always be one of the most impactful, if not the most impactful experiences for me, because it was really 2 things. One, living in a foreign country and an impoverished country. And then what's a little relevant now is the world's largest Muslim country, which this is all pre 9/11 and everything we're dealing with, but I just got to experience that culture and that religion and the people, but being in a government that didn't allow the opportunities that we do. And then going to an international school where there's kids from over 50 countries and just seeing the beauty of the diversity and the inclusion. And not exclusion, meaning we can't talk about anybody's beliefs or anybody's background. And United Nations Day was our most popular holiday there. Everybody would come in their native garb and they would bring native food, and we just shared it. And there was no majority, there was no you're better or anything like that. And so we were also there during the first Gulf War. And while Indonesia stayed neutral, there were some bomb threats. There was some of that experience where we had to be quarantined in our home and didn't go to school. And it was just interesting sharing that dynamic. So then when we got transferred to Texas, and I started high school, 10th grade at Shepton High School in Plano, and Plano in the Collin County area in 1991 is very different than it looks today. And so it was a little bit of a culture shock. I tell people it was a bigger culture shock moving from Indonesia to Texas than it was from California to Indonesia. And so I had a little bit tough of a transition, but I knew, one of the things that I had a history teacher who was just so impactful, and he didn't seem to fit in much better than I did. But he was so passionate about the world and about politics and about how we have the ability to make our country better. And so that just, those two experiences collided with, I want to go to law school and I want to be able to be a public interest civil rights lawyer. And so everything from then on out was towards that aim. I went to college at Trinity in San Antonio. I was taking political science. I'm a political science major. I did a special semester in Washington, D.C. with American University, and I was an investigator with the Public Defender Service there and got that experience. And then I went to law school in D.C. at George Washington. And I worked for a civil rights coalition while I was there with the Human Rights Campaign and People for the American Way, and worked on the Hill with judicial nominations, election protection, and then decided after law school, I worked at the Securities and Exchange Commission for a little bit, and then decided to come back home when my stepfather passed away and start my own law practice that I was telling you is geared towards originally wills, trust, powers of attorney, and originally focused primarily on the LGBT community, so these families and couples could have just basic rights to be able to visit each other in the hospital, to be able to inherit property they've bought together, to be able to raise kids that they've brought into the world together. And that's just has been a springboard to lots of different advocacy and leadership opportunities. I've been on several boards. I've been the chair of several boards, whether it's the North Texas GLBT Chamber of Commerce, or involved with the Plano Chamber, or locally the Human Rights Campaign. And then I got very involved with the American Businesswomen's Association and actually ran for their national board and went up the ranks there and was elected as their national president of the American Businesswomen's Association for 2013 and 2014. And just all of those experiences and drive culminated into the election season, the presidential election season, and just being so disillusioned with how our current leaders, particularly at the federal level, seem so out of touch with the people they represent, and the diversity of people that they represent, and how divided that has made us, and that it's come to a point where it feels like sometimes in our own community, unless we personally agree or identify with someone, then we have to be against them. And our leaders perpetuate that in a great sense, so that we don't realize that we have the ability to come together and make a difference. And so I just decided, well, I've spent all this time in leadership and advocacy trying to get our leaders to listen to all of us, and they're not. So it's time to replace them with us. And so that just was the springboard to why I'm here, why I decided to run.
What a journey.
Yes, I tried to condense it as quick as a little package as I could, but it's a high level overview of,
that is quite a journey,
of the shoes I've walked in.
Yes, but we're here now. So can you tell us what party or platform that you're running on?
Yeah, so I am running for the Democratic nomination, and I'll tell you that was a difficult choice for me. Not in the sense that I haven't always personally been more aligned with the Democratic Party, and I know we'll probably get into that a little bit more.
Yes.
But part of this extreme partisanship is what I feel is contributing to the divide and killing our democracy, quite frankly. Where it used to be that, or at least how it should be, is that these parties are really just a way of looking at things as a perspective to come together and collaborate to get things done. But now they've become an end unto themselves, where you can only support something if it's part of the party you're a part of. And so I struggled with that. And when I first looked into it, I thought, I had this crazy idea that I'll run as an independent. Well, I won't hide from the fact that I've always voted as a Democrat. That's always been where I've personally been aligned. But it's not the world according to Lorie. It's not the world according to the Democrats or the Republicans. Well, unfortunately, the way the system currently works is that's not a thing, at least not here in Texas. There's so much support and base that you get from the parties. So for me, there was no question that I have to be true to myself and my beliefs, that I wanted to get engaged with the Democratic Party. And that's been interesting, because I've been, again, so engaged in leadership and advocacy with civil rights organizations and business organizations, but I've never been involved with a party before. So that's been a little bit of a learning curve as well. But that I'm very proud to do that. I think that there is a lot of opportunity for Republicans and Democrats and everything in between for us to come together, because when I talk to people, no matter where they are in this ideological spectrum, they're really tired of the division. They want to see leaders that are accountable and that are visible and will get things done and will work towards finding common solutions. And one of the center points of my campaign is that I'm not taking any donations or money from PACs or political interest groups or special interest groups or anything like that, which is hard because that's how you raise the money. But that is part of what's contributing to this, out of people, these leaders being out of touch, is that they have to please their donors rather than listening to the people that they represent.
Okay. So no super PACs.
No super PACs. No, not taking any support there.
Okay, good. Okay. So you chose Plano, and I know you have a history in Plano.
Yes.
But what is good about Plano, and what are the issues in
Right.
Plano that you intend to take to Washington?
Yeah. So again, when we moved to Texas, we moved to Plano, and we purposely did that because my stepfather, who worked for Mobil Oil, knew that they had a great school system, and I was the last of 6 kids that were left in the home, and so he wanted that education system for me. And so even though I moved away, when I decided to move back home, I chose Plano as my home.
Okay.
Especially after losing my dad, it was just wanting that familiarity of home. And it really, for the first time, actually felt like this is my home. But keep in mind, so for the last 13 years, I've had my practice. So from the time we first moved here to now, it's about 27 years. And I've seen not just Plano, but all of Collin County grow by leaps and bounds. I'm a small business owner. All the growth that we've had of people coming in, I believe we're almost about 1 million in population now. And they project in the next 10 years that will be doubled. People are coming here for opportunities, for jobs, for corporate jobs, starting businesses, and hey, when the corporations like Toyota come in, it helps me because they need wheels.
Yes.
They need services that small businesses, and this is just a really thriving population. And I hear a lot, particularly more from the more conservative side of things, talking about pro-growth, pro-business. And what I don't understand, and what gets to the heart of your question, is that but that's brought in such an influx of people from all over the country, all over the world. And I feel like it is our obligation. I mean, for me, if you don't like a moral obligation, which I do, but from a business and educational economic standpoint, to make sure that everybody in our community feels heard, feels valued, and feels included. And we're dealing right now with some things that have happened in McKinney ISD and then well as the Plano School Board, where we have leaders and representatives who have purposely help contribute to that divide, directed towards the Muslim community, directed towards the trans community. I mean, you just name it. And I feel like that our value is our diversity, and that if we realize that there is no, we hear this us versus them, and there is no them, there is just us, and we all deserve to be seen and heard. And it's amazing when you listen and talk to each other how we can come together and share this community and this world together.
Absolutely. So it's more personal to you.
Everything's personal to me. Yes.
Okay.
I want world peace. So
absolutely, and that's what we all want.
Right.
Yeah. So on your website, you said you are not a conventional leader.
Right.
What do you mean by that? So
a lot of it we've talked to, but let me tell you specifically why when I say I'm not a conventional candidate, because I get asked a lot. Only from people who don't know me, though, will ask me this question. It sounds great, Lorie. I believe you, but when you get in, you're going to be in this system. They're going to want the big donors, and the lobbyists are going to come calling. The party itself is going to say, you need to make these calls, you need to do this, and you need to do that. How can we know that you're not going to succumb to that? And I think that's an excellent thing to worry about. Look, I don't think that, hey, vote for Lorie and I'm going to go in and fix all this stuff. The good news is I'm not alone. First of all, there are wonderful people already in elected positions, and there's a lot of people who are running right now that it'll be building coalitions to do that. But there's never been a single day in my life that I have ever sacrificed my moral and ethical obligation to try and do the best thing for everybody. And to listen to people and bring people together. It is the only reason that I am doing this. And so I would rather crash and burn in 2 years, which is the term, and come back home to Plano than to try and become a career politician. So when I say that is I'm not doing this to play the game, I'm doing this to change the game. And I'm not doing things in a conventional way. We're grassroots. I'm not raising the big money from all these special donors. I'm not looking to play this partisan divide and feed into that. I'm looking to bring true servant leadership where the people you represent are your bosses, and to bring people together and to have conversations with each other. Because you hear a lot about, I'm going to go be your voice in Washington. And sure, that's part of it. But what I think is more important is for me not to be your voice, but for me to provide you a voice, you a platform, for you to be seen and heard. Because when we're able to open people's minds and hearts to different perspectives, that's where the real synergy and collaboration begins. And suddenly it's no longer the stranger, it's your neighbor.
Absolutely. Lorie, let me ask you, Plano, well, Collin County, there's a lot of immigrants. And you also say that, everybody will be able to hold you accountable. I can tell you right now, immigrants feel that they need to lay low, even though I am a citizen.
Right.
And some of us, actually a lot of us are, we pay taxes.
Right.
How can you, as Lorie, as a congresswoman, even at then, how can you give them your word or encourage them that they will still be able to hold you accountable because you still represent them? Because when you become a congresswoman representing Plano, you do represent every resident of Plano, regardless of where they come from.
Right.
A lot of foreigners or a lot of immigrants, they refuse to be identified by where they came from because we all came. So tell us, how do we get to hold you accountable?
Sure, I love that question. It's fantastic. So, one of the things that was interesting about living in a foreign country for me was that we wanted to be so respectful of the country and the people and the culture we were in, but without sacrificing our own. And sometimes you hear about America referred to as a melting pot. And I don't think it's a melting pot, because melting pot, and I get teased being called literal Lorie. So the idea of a melting pot is that we all blend and come together, but we're really more a mosaic of all these different pieces. And I've heard, so first of all, Collin County, we're at a point now where 1 in every 5 residents is foreign born. We need to recognize that. And those are people who are contributing to our economy, to our businesses, to our educational system. And it's important to embrace that and recognize that the growth and prosperity we see has come with the diversity of people from all over the world. And the idea of being held accountable is, I will just keep doing what I've always done, and that is seeking out opportunities to be informed, seeking out community leaders, but not just doing that for them to talk to me and inform me, but provide an opportunity for them to talk to each other. I think there's a lot that can be done. There are certain collaboration and coalitions within the community, but I think there needs to be a lot more of that, because when you're just talking to your own echo chamber of people that you agree with, you're not going to make a difference. And so when you're able to bring different people together, but it's about being visible and accountable so that we respond to anybody who reaches out to us. That's something that I hear when I'm out talking to so many voters, that they want to know that they will be heard and seen. And at the same time, something else that you brought up is something I've heard a lot from a lot of different immigrant communities that we have, and that is the fear of being seen, particularly in this political climate. So if we can start showing that there are leaders and representatives that see you, that value you, that will hear you, that it becomes more, there's more trust that's built. But you have to build that trust. And the only way you do it is by talking and listening to each other.
Okay, that's good, Lorie. Thank you so much for that. How can our community, and by our community, I mean, all of us in Plano, everyone, how can we get to support you?
So first I'll tell you, so we're running in a primary right now. So right now, it's the way the current system is, there's the Democratic or the Republican primary. And so the Democratic primary, there's a lot of things are being voted on: senator, U.S. senator, governor, judgeships, county commissioners, as well as the House of Representatives. There's a lot of different people on the ballot. I think one of the biggest keys to getting this feeling that democracy is really back to we the people is getting people out to vote. And I think that you can't say that in just a flippant way. I joke about how it's like saying, all right, I want to get in shape. Oh, just go to the gym. Well, there's people who've never been to the gym before. They don't know what to do when they get there. How do they do it? It's intimidating. And particularly for communities, minority communities or immigrant communities, there is an implicit intimidation that's put in there. So I think you'd be hard-pressed to find too many people who would say voting's not important. But the majority of those folks probably still won't do it because they don't know where to go, they don't know how to be informed. So I think one of the biggest things that any community can do is, one, to start fostering this culture of community involvement and voting, and maybe even help providing information on where to vote, and even the mechanics of voting. Like, when I go in, what do I say? What do they give you? The Collin County Democratic Party even has sample voting machines right now that people can go by and see it. It is time to get back to basics, because there is a lot of voter intimidation, intentional and unintentional, that's going on. And until we get more people voting, because voting turnout in Texas is some of the lowest and sometimes the very lowest in all of the nation. As far as supporting me personally, I would love the honor of someone's vote, support if they want to volunteer. Like I said, and I'm not taking any big money, so any donations, contributions, anything, but also providing you opportunities to listen to you, to know your concerns, to be able to make you feel like you can be visible as a community and that you've got someone who stands with you. Because I've spent a lifetime, particularly for me, wanting to say, you know, I want to be treated equally with dignity and respect. And if I am demanding that of my country and of my community, then I feel it's my obligation to fight for that for you as well. And that we don't have to agree on everything and we don't have to identify with everybody, but we have to recognize that they have a right to be heard just like you do. And they have a right to have the laws and the community respect them. And there are 3 other candidates who are running for the same position that I am. So if you go and get the Democratic ballot, you will see 3 other names there. It's 3 gentlemen and very nice guys. I do believe I did get the Dallas Morning News endorsement, which I was very honored to get. And it was mainly because of I've worked in DC, I've had that experience, and I've led organizations. I've not just been a part of them, but actually led them. That span a huge diversity of people in thought and belief and background and age, and I think that I'm the best equipped to try and do what we want to see, to be the change we wish to see in the world. And so right now with primary season, the biggest thing is voting. Vote, vote, vote. That would be the biggest thing. I'd be honored to have everybody's vote who's watching this. However, I really just want to say go out there and vote. Even if you're going to go vote in the Republican party, just vote. You have to be seen and you have to be heard.
Do you have a website you want to give?
Yes. LorieBurchForCongress.com. I joke that you can misspell it all you want because we have all the URLs, but I'd love it if you would spell it correctly. So it's Lorie. Thanks, Mom, for that. Lorie, Lorie, Burch, Burch. So Lorie Burch for Congress, FOR, not the number 4. We should probably get that URL too. LorieBurchForCongress.com. Our phone number's on there, my email's on there. I do my very best to quickly respond to people. I know as it goes on, it'll be harder and harder, but we have people that will get back to you. We're also very active on social media, on Facebook. Come check us out. There's a lot of events coming up. If anybody is interested in seeing how this democratic process works and wants to phone bank or block walk, we have all that going on right now. So there's lots of opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lorie, for your time. And again, this is Monicah Masharia, and this is Echo FM. Actually, I was just gonna say that Echo FM was here so that we can endorse you.
Oh, wonderful.
So we are representing the Kenyan community out there. We have a lot of Kenyans in the Collin County. I just want to remind you that voting is your civic right. Go do it. Until next time, we will have Lorie in the studio on Saturday at 10:30, and we will talk about issues. So send me your questions, inbox me, call me, whatever is easier for